Hey, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined today by Oliver. We're going to be talking about video transcription and why you should be doing it in order to promote your podcast.
That's right, Nicholas. I had a question for you before we even get into the podcast. So we've done a few episodes, I think we started this podcast, just to see what it's like to be podcasters. Mm-hmm. It's hard. We understand that. It's super hard. But have you been making videos to promote this?
It's been on my docket. I've been meaning to.
We certainly talked about it.
Yes, many times.
Because that's what our entire company does.
You don't say.
Yeah. That's what we tell everyone they should do for their podcast. But I don't know. I was looking at our social and I didn't see... Is it that you don't like the content, or...?
Oh, no, the content's great. I'm really proud of the content. Goes right up on the fridge.
It doesn't, because you don't make it visual.
Yeah, that's because I don't have time to. I'm doing so much other incredible stuff every day.
Yeah. Well, have you thought about anything... Is there any way on a Headliner, something that you could maybe do for the busy professional such as yourself? Is there a way to make videos potentially even while you sleep, Nicholas?
Is it automation?
Yes.
Wow. You don't say.
Yeah. All you have to do is go in, find our podcast, and set up an automation, and then it gets emailed to you. Then all you have to do is share it to social. That's all you have to do.
That is really easy. I think I'm going to start doing my job now.
Well, I mean, you're doing your job. It's just embarrassing that we're a company that makes podcast videos, but our own podcast is a dumpster fire when it comes to promotion.
That does, yeah. I guess we're going to have to change that with automation.
So I would say we fix that. This podcast, I hope you get to see this on YouTube. I hope Nicholas puts the pieces together, or if he doesn't have the time for it, then we'll have to make automation even better so he doesn't need to do absolutely anything.
That sounds like a dare for me to make automation get better.
Yeah, I'm thankful for video versions of my podcast.
Yeah, I was actually talking about that
this
with
is the Thanksgiving episode, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It'll be coming out probably right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry, I interrupted. You were talking with Bailey.
No, I was talking with Bailey. I think it was in an episode of the podcast, actually. About how, I actually like video versions of podcasts and, full episodes and stuff. Because, I'm the kind of person that I use, my TV as a source of light as much as I use it as a TV, probably.
That's not good for you.
Definitely isn't.
Blue light.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's okay, though. I mean, the other things that are going to kill you first. Yeah. The vaping.
That's true.
There won't be an environment.
That's true. I won't have an environment to go enjoy, technically.
Right. All the things they're building to go to Mars are actually just to survive on Earth after there's no more ozone.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But, I actually use, full episodes, just as a screensaver, almost. Just have it on just so something is on.
Screensaver?
Yeah, when you're...
Like an audio screensaver?
Yeah, basically.
You turn the audio off on your full episode?
No. I listen to it, if I'm doing something at my apartment or my house, if I'm cleaning or I'm cooking or something, I will listen to a podcast, but I'll have the full episode on also, because it is just, a source of video.
So you're watching it on your... I mean, the TV was originally like a radio with pictures.
Yeah.
In a way, right?
That's basically what it is, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, it's just... Yeah. So you... What do you like to watch? If you're watching a podcast.
If I'm watching a podcast, there are 2 full video podcasts that I'm really into. But then, the full episode ones, it's just I was on YouTube and it recommended an episode of such and such, and I let autoplay just, go over to it.
Yeah.
But the 2 video podcasts I like is, again, Jake and Amir's podcast. They do video episodes on Patreon that I like to actually put on.
Oh, so you're a subscriber.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. And then the other one is that other podcast I mentioned, Off Camera with Sam Jones, because that's a TV show. It's a TV show that they mirror as a podcast.
Gotcha.
So I can actually watch full video episodes of these interviews.
Right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jake and Amir use us.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah. I think one of them I emailed with.
Huh.
I think it was Amir. No, maybe it was Jake. I don't know.
Yeah. One of them.
They're the College Humor. Well, I don't know if they're College Humor anymore, but they were at one point.
They're kind of in a weird flux where it's they're not at College Humor anymore. They left. They can't do those Jake and Amir videos anymore because College Humor owns the rights.
So is this like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson kind of?
Yeah, kind of.
He was like Dwayne Johnson for a few years, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to pay the WWE. Yeah. I want The Rock back in my title.
Yeah, he wants
more,
to be
whatever
The
happened.
Rock.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what happened. And then they still do stuff with them, though. Like, they have an original series on College Humor's streaming service. Mm-hmm. But, like, they're not really affiliated otherwise.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway, Transcription.
And captions.
Yes.
We talked about this earlier in the week when we were talking about the podcast, actually last week, and we decided we would talk about this topic. And your job was to come up with statistics and the history and all this interesting stuff to talk about, so educate me.
Right. So let's start at the beginning of what transcription started as.
Sumerian tablets. Drawings, hieroglyphics, you know. Well, basically, transcripts, they first came into existence. If you want to get, like, technical and, like, actually talk about, like, video. I want to go, wait, for everyone listening, you might not know, Nicholas is a film school person.
Yes.
And has an encyclopedic knowledge of media by decade, which is very disconcerting because he knows more about when I grew up's media stuff than I know, which is weird because I'm like, how did you know about that episodes of Dawson's Creek?
Yeah, that's right. I think that was a real example, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you were like, well, that was when Joey found out that Pacey was with his teacher. I was like, what? Were you even alive then? And you were like, bad. Sort of.
I'm a regular Abed from Community. What can I say?
I don't know what that means, passing the time.
It's a guy from a TV show who he only knows pop culture.
Oh, okay.
So that's like his gimmick. No, so the history of transcripts, basically, there was this fancy invention called photographs, and then someone got the idea to play a bunch of them really quickly,
right?
And film was made.
Was it horses running?
Yeah, the first film is technically someone set up, maybe over like the course of like 20 or 30 feet, they set up a bunch of cameras, and then they just had a guy ride a horse and take pictures of it.
What was that? It was like, I vaguely remember this. I'm going to try my best. It was like, people wanted to know, does a horse ever leave the ground?
Yes.
When it runs?
That was the exact...
I don't know why you want to know that.
It was a bet.
Oh, okay.
So this is what people did in the 1800s. They drank whiskey and they bet on horses and whether or not their feet were ever not touching the ground.
Right. Okay, so it's the 1800s.
That's the 1800s. Film is a thing. And Thomas Edison, he basically was like the first film mogul. Mm-hmm. Like, the film headquarters of the world was actually in New Jersey originally.
Okay, you're from New Jersey. You thought I'm supposed to buy this?
Yeah. No, I mean it. And Bruce Springsteen got us to land on the moon, specifically.
Really?
Yeah. My self-esteem relies on this being accurate. No, so basically, people left because Thomas Edison was a control freak. They left, they formed Hollywood. And when the first movies were getting made in Hollywood, people wanted to do more complex things because movies in the late 1800s and 1900 were like 20-second things of people walking out of a factory.
Sounds like we've come full circle. It sounds like it's like Vine. Now it's like GIFs or
it's GIFs, it's GIFs, it's Vine, it's TikTok.
Right.
So that was happening, and one of the ways they wanted to make things complicated was they wanted to tell stories and like have people communicate. Only problem, they didn't know how to put sound on film yet.
Right.
They wouldn't for another like 20 or 30 years. So they got the idea to put in intercards or intertitles, depending on who you ask, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a card with a transcript of what's being said on it.
So, like, the classic example you'd see is like a person, like a pretty young woman is tied to the train tracks.
Yeah.
And then like there's like these bandits, and it's like, and then the card comes up, and it's like, oh no, the train's coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that is the original transcript, basically. The first movie to actually do this, that like people know of, because like how are you going to figure this out for real? This is the earliest surviving movie, I should say.
Right. Is
a 1903 adaptation of Edwin Porter's 1903 adaptation of the book Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Uh-huh.
And that was the first movie that we know of that had subtitles, intertitles on it. Oh. Transcript.
Yeah.
From there, it became like an entire thing. It became like a language in itself to have these intertitles convey information as concisely as possible. And then sound was invented, and everyone was like, oh, we don't need these anymore.
Right.
Except they did, because if you're a guy in France and you want to watch, I don't know, an American movie, you need subtitles.
Right.
Which then led to like the next development in like transcription and stuff, which was, you know, subtitling for foreign films.
Okay.
And then after that, video became a thing, TV became a thing, and transcripts stuck around because even if you're listening to something in English and you speak English, there's a good chance that you might be a little hard of hearing.
That's interesting. So the hard of hearing... Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
The hard of hearing thing is not... I always... For some reason, I was thinking that would be one of the first uses, but it sounds like it wasn't. It was like first because there was no sound.
Which is hard of hearing, kind of.
Yeah, or it's just there's nothing to hear, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to hear something that's not
Chicken
there.
or the egg.
But yeah, so that kind of, it's funny, like all the original things, when you talk about it, it's almost like the original version of video.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of like listicle videos. You know, I could see like a silent collection of GIF, you know, like a video you might see a social, it's like top 20 reasons your dog is secretly killing you or something.
Yeah.
And it's like reason number 10, like your dog's eating your food or whatever it is. And then it shows you a GIF of that.
Yeah.
But it's all just some music underneath.
Just title cards.
Which could essentially be that piano player. And then it's like title cards and like very short video clips.
Exactly. It is weird because you mentioned like going full circle, and yeah, we basically did in a weird way.
Right.
But nowadays, like transcript is still a thing, not just in television, obviously, but like on social media. Because like you said, those listicles now include those titles there for the person who, even if there is a narration, doesn't have the sound on. And that's why, circling back to podcasting, that's why it's kind of perfect, and every podcaster should actually go through the trouble of doing it. Mm-hmm. Most people on social media at any given moment don't have the sound on for one reason or another. Maybe they're listening to music on Spotify, so they're not going to listen to your Instagram clip. Maybe they're at work and they're on their phone or something, or they're just in public and they decide not to blast their video.
That never happens anymore.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
Or actually, you know what it is? It only takes one person doing it to make you think everyone's doing it.
Yeah, it's just that obtrusive.
This is maybe a New York subway thing.
I was going to say, I think it is just a New York subway thing. But then again, I don't know.
And you know what's funny is the people blasting their phones and not using headphones are the ones that won't be going deaf.
Huh. Go figure.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, there's like some depressing poetry in that somewhere. Yeah, so like transcript is all over the place now, and by adding a transcript to your video, you're making it more accessible. Not just to people who are hard of hearing and can't hear it, but to people who are in a situation where they won't be able to listen. On top of that, there are other benefits to doing a transcript for something from a podcast. It's a pretty good example of that would be like a really information-based podcast, something that's data-driven, you know, just giving them like a visual shorthand of it on the screen. Mm-hmm. As a means for them to help digest it, because people learn in different ways, and people typically learn better when they're exposed to different stimuli related to it. So listening to it, reading it, perhaps like a graphic even or something, you know, that just helps people retain information.
It's true. That reminds me, like in school, I've always had a really good auditory recall for like history class and stuff. I would always do very well on tests because I could just remember, but like for things I had to really like get into my head, I would always listen, say out loud, and write the thing out.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And try to do all the methods you can do to get it into your brain.
Yeah.
But so you think about that, I mean, you're trying really hard to remember something, you do that, but like it's more subtle if you just show people all the different kind of, hit them in as many senses as you can, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no sense of smell through the phone yet.
No, we're working on it. We have our top people downstairs working on it, though.
Yeah, but, you know, it's great.
Yeah. No, exactly. And, like, building off of what you were saying, that example of, like, you're in school and that's how you do it, exactly. Just giving them the option even. Because, like, no one necessarily, like, if you make a video with a transcript, nobody's forced to read it. It could just be there, you know?
That's a question. What's the difference between open captions and closed captions?
Oh, that's a really good one. I actually don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, I do.
Oh, perfect. This isn't.
When we were researching, I thought you would have gotten to that one, but I guess not. So that's fine.
Yeah.
When you're making videos, so open captions.
Oh, I see it.
Are always burned onto the video, and closed captions, the user can, the person watching can turn them on or off.
Gotcha.
And so, one thing about closed captions is that sometimes if that file gets corrupted or is missing, they won't work anymore.
Sure.
Open captions are nice if you want to make sure that they're always available, because then the person watching doesn't have to know to turn them on, right? Especially if you think about someone watching surreptitiously at work. Like, are they going to go to the trouble
of navigating to the button?
Yeah, probably not. And then you can't make the captions look awesome. You can't use your own font. So
yeah. And that's like kind of tying it into Headliner. That's what's so awesome about it, is the fact that first off, we're doing open captions, right?
It's open.
Yeah,
it's burned in.
Yeah, it's the
technically we do a transcript file, so some people download the file and then upload those as closed captions too.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you like.
Which is great. It's nice to have options. But no, like the fact that we can do that, we can actually, because they're burnt in, we can actually customize captions for videos. And then suddenly, it's not just giving them the information, it's giving them in a visually appealing way. One of the things, I do a lot of like calls with the users and show them how to use Headliner and like all the cool parts of it. Mm-hmm. One of the things I always show them that they like is when you're editing a transcript on the timeline, changing the color of your keywords in order to emphasize it to your audience. So for example, if I have a sentence of transcript on the screen that is, here's a real statistic actually. Let's say I have a sentence on screen that says 82% of all internet traffic will be video by 2020. That's a stat from Cisco.
That's next year.
Yeah.
That's not even, that's next year. That's in like...
It's in like 2 months.
It's not even 2 full months. Jeez, that's like 5.5 weeks.
Oh, man. Yeah, so if you have that on screen, that's great. And you have it in a big, appealing font, people might read it. But there are still people who might just see a glob of white text and they mentally won't be drawn to it enough to read it. But with Headliner, you can highlight important phrases in your sentences. Things like who, when, what, where, and why. And then you can actually influence readability by changing the color of those things. So 82% of internet traffic, you can change the color of that. So that it's like red or yellow, blue, whatever, will be video content by 2020. The words video content and 2020 can be changed in color too, so that the person sees all this color deviation and they just read it. Mm-hmm. And not only that, you're improving, like I said earlier, the retention because you're making it more attention grabbing. You're kind of just drawing people's eyes into it. On top of that, another really great thing. So this is actually going back to like how transcripts are great for like data-driven content. Mm-hmm. This is from a study at Oregon State University. Transcription and subtitles, captions, that actually improves comprehension. Like, it's a confirmed fact at this point because, like we said, people learn in different ways. Mm-hmm. And going back to the school example, it's kind of like when you're in school or like you're in a class or a presentation and someone pulls up a PowerPoint. Like, yeah, you may not be paying attention to the PowerPoint. When I was in school, I never paid attention to PowerPoint. I just was drawing instead because that's unfortunately just who I am. But like, it was up there and the people who would have gotten the additional value out of it were able to. And with Headliner, it doesn't have to look like a PowerPoint, your captions on your video. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a video editor. You can make it look like subtitles. Well,
I mean, we know, like, I know from doing pitches and things like that and doing presentations, right? With PowerPoint or a slide deck, if you don't want to give Microsoft a little +1 there, is that if you stand in front of people, right? And you have written words on your slide, whatever you write on the slide, people will just start reading it and start to actually disregard what you're saying.
Really?
Yeah, and so, like, if you look at, like, Steve Jobs is really famous for his presentations, and his slides would generally be very few words. Because he wanted people to focus on him and what he was saying and the message, and, you know, if anything you put up there that doesn't support the point you're making, in like a very succinct way, well then people will start to like read it and prefer that. Not even prefer it, but just start to choose that and focus on it. It creates kind of like
it's like confusion. A weird like validation thing, just seeing it written down somewhere, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I think there's definitely something there.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess having it be there and having it be concise and just visually appealing is a huge part of it. We actually, with Headliner, offer like a bunch of different ways for you to make the videos. Like I said, you could do subtitles. You could do like a simple quote card. Mm-hmm. So like in these demo calls, the example that I've been doing lately is literally a colored background, just like whatever color, a nice sky blue or something, and then the font in big font, and then the subtitles in big font on the top of it, just reading the transcript off in white text. And it's super simple. It's almost like deceptively simple, because you'd be like, something so simple could never be like aesthetically pleasing, but it is. And it's also like an example that people seem to really like, because they're hosts of marketing podcasts and podcasts that are really data driven, where they just want to put the transcript there. So they're able to do that. It's super simple and it's pretty awesome. On the other side of it, you also have like other styles. You have our karaoke animation in Headliner, which changes the color of your words kind of close to when they're being said. And something like that's also really valuable, because again, it's the changing colors. It can just be a part of your audiogram to help people get engaged. Anything involving like color deviation usually goes a long way. And that's something that even streaming services do. Like, that's something you see on streaming services like Amazon and YouTube. When you rent a movie there, you can change the color of your transcript or your captions, just because they know people are more likely to pay attention if they can actually see it.
Well, that all makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you find any other interesting caption or transcription-based history?
I didn't find anything interesting, but I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking about accuracy in transcripts. So in our example, we use like Google's transcript stuff. So we actually get pretty good transcripts out of the box when people want their audio transcribed. And from there, they can go in and they can actually edit it, retime it, customize it. But more often than not, it actually is pretty good. And even if it isn't 100% accurate, I think it is like almost already postable. And that made me think, like, are there movies that have done subtitles and just completely airballed it? You know, just completely gotten it wrong. And I'm talking like not just like small student films, but like big budget movies. And sure enough, I started watching more stuff this week with subtitles on, coincidentally. And several things I saw had incorrect subtitles at multiple points, which kind of just goes to show, I think just putting the step forward to do a transcript, even if it isn't 100% perfect, is still important, and it's still like valuable. I mean, there are movies that go out of their way to give you bad subtitles. Like, well, it's a joke, but in the movie Annie Hall, there's literally a scene that revolves around characters saying one thing and then subtitles under it saying something else completely. Are
those open or closed?
They're burnt into the movie.
Open.
Yeah. So literally they went out of their way to burn in incorrect subtitles because it added something to the movie, which
That's
I think
funny.
is cool. Yeah.
That actually brings me up to I have a trivia question for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
What 1976 Italian film is credited with causing riots in Bologna because of issues due to words being incorrect in subtitles?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I just made it up. Sorry.
Okay, I was about to be... I literally just Googled that. I said, Italian film 1976 riots. Is it perhaps the movie The Dreamers?
Yes.
A romantic drama from 2003?
Yes.
Cool. That would have been really bad if, like, I had actually come up with a movie name and you were like, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we're good here. I mean, I don't know what else you could possibly talk about, captions or transcription-wise, but
yeah,
it is Thanksgiving, so I hope everyone listening is, if they're in the United States, I hope you're using portion control. Or if you're very healthy the rest of the year, I hope you're stuffing yourself silly and you can't walk right now.
Yeah.
Not because, only because you ate so much you need to lie down. That's the only reason you can't walk.
Nice save.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right, cool. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Until next time, keep promoting your podcast with video. That goes for you too, Nicholas.
I 100% plan to.
Yeah.
Yes, there will be several audiograms for this episode.
Several.
Yes.
Sounds great.
Awesome.